In order to speak with the headless horseman before him, the man sought out his friend and together they found Andy, who was soulless. Andy had once made a deal with the demon lord Moloch, trading his soul for immortality, which granted him the ability to communicate with the Grim Reaper. Upon reaching the cell where the headless horseman was imprisoned, Andy attempted to establish a connection, but the headless horseman seemed uninterested in speaking with them. Seeing this, Ichabod stepped forward, grabbed the headless horseman's collar, and began to taunt him. Just then, a necklace fell from the headless horseman, and when Ichabod picked it up, he realized it belonged to his wife, Katrina. Suddenly, Andy managed to establish a connection with the headless horseman.
It belonged to Katrina. Yes, you took my head, but death will not be silenced.
Ichabod wanted to know why he had this necklace, but the headless horseman did not answer the question. Instead, he told Ichabod that his target had always been him. From the battlefield 200 years ago, to the Freemasons' heads turned into lanterns, to the killing of Abby's partner Corbin, all were because of Ichabod's existence. Ichabod couldn't understand why the headless horseman harbored such deep hatred towards him. The headless horseman explained that it was all for avenging Abraham, accusing Ichabod of betraying Abraham and causing his death. Hearing this, Ichabod became emotionally charged, as he had always felt deeply guilty about the incident. Seeing Ichabod's agitation, Abby hurried in to restrain him, but just then, the electrical system was sabotaged, and the ultraviolet lights weakening the headless horseman went dark. With the lights out, the headless horseman's power began to slowly return. Ichabod intended to continue the interrogation but was stopped by Abby. She could see that the conversation had struck a nerve with Ichabod, so Abby wanted to know what had happened back then. Hesitating for a moment, Ichabod revealed the truth. It turned out that Katrina had once been engaged to Abraham, and Ichabod had always been a close friend to both. The necklace was one Ichabod had helped Abraham pick out, but at a party, Katrina suddenly showed her love for Ichabod. Although he also had deep feelings for Katrina, Ichabod did not pursue her out of respect for the brotherly bond. However, it wasn't long before Abraham learned of this and blamed everything on Ichabod, leading Abraham to draw his sword and challenge Ichabod to a duel. Ichabod intended to surrender and drop his weapon, but Abraham relentlessly swung his sword, forcing Ichabod to fight back. After several rounds, Ichabod deliberately fell to the ground, feigning defeat. Just as Abraham was proclaiming his victory, a gunshot hit him, followed by several redcoat soldiers rushing out. Ichabod quickly got up and dealt with the two soldiers nearby. As more enemies approached, Ichabod tried to escape with Abraham, but Abraham refused his help, sternly telling Ichabod to leave. To ensure the message from the site was conveyed, Ichabod reluctantly left alone. Although he had abandoned his best friend, Ichabod never wanted to hurt Abraham. While they were waiting for the power to be restored, Andy in the cell pulled out a disc from his body. Holding the disc, he chanted spells, and soon the skull on it began to move, while monsters appeared around the cell. When Ichabod noticed the disc in Andy's hands, the headless horseman had already regained all his strength, broke the chains with his bare hands, and slapped Ichabod away. The headless horseman then took two long swords from the armory and threw one to Ichabod. The two men began dueling immediately. The headless horseman's moves reminded Ichabod of Abraham, and he realized that the knight before him was his dear friend. It turned out that after Ichabod left, Abraham had not died but had encountered the demon lord Moloch. Abraham traded his soul with Moloch in a deal, agreeing to become one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse if Moloch could help him win Katrina. Ichabod looked in disbelief at the headless horseman, realizing that the reason Katrina was trapped was because of him.
Be mine once more.
Sudden defense Stop! You can't kill him! The master forbids it!
Thus, the headless horseman was taken away by Moloch's servants, but now it seemed urgent to rescue Katrina, as only she could explain everything that was happening. Just after Katrina gave birth to a boy, crows began furiously slamming into the windows, followed by a gigantic tree demon emerging from the ground. Seeing this, Lachlan urgently told his wife to take Katrina and leave, while he prepared to go outside to buy them time. But as Lachlan opened the door, the tree demon impaled him with its palm. This is exactly what happened to Katrina when she gave birth in the first place. Abby stumbled upon all this in a room, by chance. Learning he had a son made Ichabod immensely happy, though Abby hadn't seen what happened next. Just as Ichabod was about to inquire if his son was still alive, a sudden scream diverted their attention. They quickly made their way to the basement, where they found a woman standing there, her face stricken with terror. As Ichabod and Abby moved to check on her, the tree demon suddenly appeared and dragged her away, utilizing the dark space. The tree demon moved swiftly around them. Ichabod suddenly spotted a tree root. Abby immediately fired her gun, confirming the roots were connected to the tree demon. With another shot from Abby, the roots were shattered and the tree demon, in pain, released the woman. Seizing the opportunity, they quickly escaped the mansion. However, Ichabod was not ready to leave. The same tree demon that had attacked his son was before him, and he was determined to destroy it completely. Despite Abby's attempts to dissuade him, Ichabod charged back into the mansion, using a flare to survey his surroundings. As he delved deeper, the tree demon silently appeared behind him. Sensing the danger, Ichabod swung his axe without looking back, with a frenzied assault.
I love without consequence!
I know who you serve.
Then you can come for my wife! My child!
Give Moloch my regards.
Ichabod split the tree demon's head. Returning home, Ichabod called upon Henry, wanting to contact Katrina to inquire about their son. Henry warned Ichabod that connecting to purgatory was extremely dangerous, and any mishap could lead to real death. Determined to clarify his son's situation, Ichabod was willing to take the risk. Seeing Ichabod's resolve, Henry agreed to help him enter purgatory.
Think of your wife. Summon her with all your heart. What I'm about to do will bring you closer to her.
I'm ready.
And closer to death.
Henry!
I told you. The closer he is to death, the shorter distance is to travel.
As his consciousness began to blur, Ichabod found himself inside a church, where he immediately saw a baby carriage with a strange doll inside. Suddenly, Katrina appeared behind him. Seeing Ichabod there, Katrina was very frightened, because Moloch's minions were everywhere outside, and if Moloch discovered Ichabod, he would be trapped there forever. But Ichabod only wanted to confirm if his son was still alive. Katrina then revealed the truth. Their son was named Jeremy. She had discovered her pregnancy only after Ichabod was buried, but it was also her secret use of witchcraft to save Ichabod that led to the witch coven's pursuit. Katrina knew that her capture would be worse than death, so she used her witchcraft to escape. Dragging her pregnant body, she sought refuge in a friend's estate, where she soon gave birth to Jeremy, but she knew the witch coven would not rest. To protect Jeremy, Katrina had no choice but to send him away, and she personally made a doll for him. Katrina told Ichabod that her pursuers were a powerful witch coven known as the Quartet of Voices. After learning the truth, Ichabod assured Katrina that he would find Jeremy and rescue her from purgatory. As Ichabod finished speaking, a barrage of thuds sounded outside. Katrina immediately urged him to leave quickly. As the door was smashed open by demons, Ichabod's consciousness returned to reality, but unbeknownst to him, the demon had also followed him out of purgatory. Every time the boy cried, flames would burst forth, and as he grew older, the world came to regard him as a monster. At the orphanage, the priest not only denied him food but also frequently whipped the boy's back. Years of oppression filled the boy's heart with hatred, and he used his own blood to activate the doll his mother had given him. Instantly, a massive golem appeared behind the priest, grasped the priest's neck with one hand, lifted him up, and then effortlessly snapped his neck. From then on, the golem became the boy's protector, and this boy was none other than Ichabod's son, Jeremy. According to records, Jeremy underwent a transformation after summoning the golem. Jeremy pursued and killed those who had harmed his mother, but for some reason, they later disappeared from the world. Now that golem has followed Ichabod to escape from purgatory, he will definitely continue to help Jeremy to complete his vengeance. The chief culprits, known as the Quartet of Voices, would be the golem's first target. In order to rescue Katrina from purgatory, Ichabod needed to find them before the golem, because only the life force of the Quartet of Voices could assist him. Abby discovered a ticket to an amusement park in the records, and they immediately drove there. Inside a tent, Ichabod indeed found the Quartet of Voices, who initially wanted to read his palm, shocking them deeply upon seeing it. They lifted their veils to reveal their faces and stated that 100 years of waiting was for this moment, and his arrival signified that their fate was sealed. Ichabod didn't understand why they would say this. If there was danger, they could simply leave and hide. The witches told him that these were fates that could not be changed. Upon hearing this, Ichabod revealed his discovery. they would die at the hands of the golem tonight. The witches were astonished to hear that the golem had escaped from purgatory. It turned out that they had imprisoned the golem in purgatory years ago, and together they had magically stopped Jeremy's heartbeat and buried him underground. Ichabod was furious to learn that it was they who had killed his son. Suddenly, a tremendous roar came from outside the tent, and Ichabod quickly inquired about a way to kill the golem. The witches told Ichabod that it was his son who had given life to the golem, and only his blood could end it all. Having learned this, Ichabod immediately left the tent, and the witches inside were quickly attacked by the golem. Ichabod relayed the information to Abby and Henry, as they were searching for a place to hide. The golem suddenly shattered a nearby mirror and burst through. Ichabod was inadvertently struck by a piece of glass, and when Henry saw the blood on it, he immediately thought of a way to subdue the golem.
Your son's blood is your blood.
His father. You exist because I did not. If there was any way I could go back and change this, believe me, with all my heart I would. But fate bestowed this task on you, his only friend, his guardian, and in many ways a father to him. For that, I owe you my life. But now I'm begging you to stop. Jeremy is gone. There's nothing left for you to protect. You have to let him go. We both have to let him go.
Hearing Ichabod's words, the golem silently bowed its head and then charged straight into the glass. As Ichabod's blood flowed into the golem's body, the golem quickly lay on the ground, losing its ability to move. Over the years, the golem had been like a father to Jeremy, accompanying him constantly. Ichabod felt a great deal of distress because of this. With each comforting word from Ichabod, the golem eventually lost its strength and reverted to a doll.
I offer this warning. War will take form. Then the end of days begins.
There will be no end of days.
Your death is assured. You and the second witness.
This was Moloch's final warning to Ichabod, who immediately shared the matter with Abby upon waking. To understand Moloch's plan, they began reviewing past archives. Just then, Frank received a strange phone call demanding he hand over the Bible or his daughter would be taken. After hanging up, Frank immediately found Ichabod and Abby. The demon's urgent desire to reclaim the Bible suggested that it contained secrets they had yet to uncover. Frank urged them to quickly find a way to destroy the demons, while he prepared to take his family to a safe place. After Frank left, Ichabod began to carefully examine the Bible. At that moment, Abby found a video in one of the files. The video showed Corbin performing an exorcism on Jenny, who had white eyes and a ferocious expression, clearly possessed by a demon. Corbin took out a cross and continuously chanted spells, but the demon seemed unfazed by these objects and even spoke some strange words to Corbin.
You will die, Mr. Corbin, at the hands of the horsemen of death. I will kill Abby, and I will kill the sister.
These words shocked them all and Abby wanted to know what was going on. However, Jenny said she didn't know either, only remembering waking up inside a circle made of salt with Corbin holding her. It appeared that salt could restrict the demon's movements but couldn't expel it. Ichabod continued to review the footage, during which the demons spoke an ancient Greek phrase. They used technology to isolate this language, and Ichabod heard the name Insidiff in the audio. Abby immediately pulled up related information. Insidiff was a type of demon that could control others through physical contact. It was first discovered in the body of a nun, but later they used a lamp to send the demon back to hell. It seemed that only such a lantern could restrain the demon. Looking at the drawing of the lantern in the data, Jenny remembered a friend who was a patriot and liked to collect old items. She had seen a similar lantern in his warehouse. Without delay, they set into action. Meanwhile, Frank had taken his family into the mountains and even had a priest set up a protective circle. What Frank didn't expect was that the demon had already possessed one of his bodyguards. The demon not only controlled another bodyguard to destroy the circle but even secretly slipped into his daughter Macy's room. By the time Frank realized something was wrong, the demon had moved into Macy. The priest raised a cross to disperse the demon, but the demon merely raised its hand and the priest was pulled toward it. At that moment, Frank's wife Cynthia ran out of the room, but the demon instantly grabbed her by the neck. With no other choice, Frank agreed to retrieve the Bible for the demon, but when they arrived, they discovered that Ichabod had already taken the Bible. The angry demon then lifted Cynthia and slapped Frank away. At this critical moment, Jenny and Abby arrived in time, engaging the demon in conversation to distract it. Meanwhile, Ichabod, holding the lantern, quietly moved behind the demon. Taking advantage of the distraction, he encircled the demon with salt, raised the lantern, and chanted a spell.
Cast from his vessel, and unable to cloak his true face.
Our plan is in motion! The witnesses can't stop it! Darkness will reign!
And Egypt will be delivered back to hell!
With that, the demon was sent back to hell and Macy was restored to consciousness. With this, the first season's plot comes to an end. I will continue to update the content. Thank you for your support and enjoyment.